Imagine you are sitting in a quiet park, watching the golden hues of the sunset paint the sky. The breeze is gentle, and everything feels peaceful. But suddenly, your mind pulls you back to your worries, your regrets, your endless to-do list. No matter how beautiful the world around you is, your thoughts won't let you enjoy it. Have you ever felt this way? Trapped in your own mind, unable to escape the cycle of stress, fear, and overthinking? Why is it so hard to be happy in the present moment? Why do we chase things that, in the end, don't truly satisfy us? No matter how much we achieve, why does something always feel missing? These questions have troubled people for centuries, and the answers lie in the timeless wisdom of Buddhism. To understand life deeply, we must first understand ourselves. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go. You are tired, your back aches, and you struggle to move freely. Now, imagine taking that backpack off. The relief, the lightness, the freedom, it feels incredible. This is exactly what happens when we learn to let go of unnecessary burdens in our minds. And this is what Buddhist teachings can help us achieve. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, your space for self-discovery and deeper understanding. If you are seeking peace, clarity, and true happiness, you are in the right place. But before we continue, let me ask you for a small favor. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of people subscribe. If you find value in what you hear today, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It only takes a second, but it helps us bring you more life-changing wisdom. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Buddhism isn't just a religion, it's a way of living, a philosophy that helps us see the world differently. At its core, it teaches us how to free ourselves from suffering and find deep inner peace. But this wisdom isn't locked away in ancient texts. It's something you can apply in your daily life, starting today. In this video, we'll explore 5 powerful Buddhist teachings that have the potential to change your life forever. These teachings are simple yet profound. They have guided millions of people toward peace and fulfillment, and they can do the same for you. But to truly understand them, we must go beyond words. We must open our minds and look at life from a fresh perspective. Throughout history, great Buddhist masters have shared insights that help us break free from the patterns of suffering. They have taught us how to overcome fear, how to deal with change, and how to cultivate happiness from within. Their wisdom remains as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. One of the most important lessons in Buddhism is that suffering is a part of life. No one can escape difficulties, heartbreak, or loss. But what if I told you that suffering itself isn't the problem? It's how we react to it. Most of us resist pain, fight against our emotions, and cling to what we cannot control. But what if, instead of fighting, we learn to flow? Buddhism teaches us that true happiness doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. Imagine if you could find peace even in the middle of chaos. Imagine if you could stay calm no matter what life throws at you. This isn't just an idea, it's a skill, and it can be learned. In the next few minutes, we will explore 5 life-changing Buddhist teachings that can help you live with more peace, clarity, and purpose. These aren't just theories. They are practical lessons that can transform the way you see the world. Stay with us, and let's begin this journey together. The nature of suffering, understanding life's challenges. Sit with me for a moment. Breathe in and out. Feel the air entering your lungs, filling your body with life. Now, tell me, what is it that troubles your heart? Is it the weight of the past? The uncertainty of the future? The feeling that no matter what you do, something always seems to be missing? This feeling, this deep sense of restlessness, is something all human beings experience. It is not your fault. It is not because you have failed or because life is unfair to you. It is simply the nature of existence. Long ago, the Buddha sat beneath a tree and observed the world with clarity. He saw kings and beggars, merchants and monks, mothers and children. No matter their wealth, their power, or their wisdom, all of them carried the same burden, suffering. Some suffered from sickness, others from loss. Some were trapped in their desires, others in their regrets. But suffering was always there, like a shadow that followed them everywhere. He realized something profound. Suffering is not an accident. It is not a punishment. It is simply a truth of life, just like birth and death. No one escapes it. Not you, not me, not even the richest or most powerful people in the world. But here is the secret. Once you understand suffering, truly understand it, it begins to lose its power over you. Think of a thorn in your foot. If you do not see it, you will continue to walk in pain, wondering why every step hurts. But the moment you notice the thorn, something changes. You may not have removed it yet, but now you know the cause of your pain. And because you see it clearly, you can do something about it. This is why understanding suffering is the first step toward freedom. Most people try to run away from their pain. They distract themselves with work, with entertainment, with endless desires. They tell themselves, if I just get this one thing, I will be happy. But have you noticed? The moment you get what you want, the happiness fades, and a new desire takes its place. It is like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. It only makes you thirstier. The Buddha called this cycle dukkha, the unsatisfactoriness of life. Even when things seem perfect, there is always an underlying tension, a feeling that something is not quite right. You may love someone deeply, but in the back of your mind, you know that nothing lasts forever. You may have moments of joy, but you also know that sadness will come again. This is the nature of the world. Everything is always changing, and nothing stays the same. But do not be discouraged. This truth is not meant to make you hopeless. It is meant to set you free. Let me tell you a story. Once, a woman named Kisa Gautami came to the Buddha in tears. Her child had died, and she could not accept it. She begged the Buddha to bring him back to life. He looked at her with deep compassion and said, "Go to every house in the village and bring me a mustard seed from a home that has never known death." She ran from door to door, searching for such a house. But in every home, she found grief. A father lost his son. A wife lost her husband. A child lost their mother. Everywhere she went, suffering was present. Slowly, she realized her pain was not hers alone. It was part of the human experience. She returned to the Buddha, her heart lighter, and she understood. Death, loss, and pain were not punishments. They were simply a part of life, and resisting them only deepened the suffering. From that moment on, she walked a new path, the path of wisdom, acceptance, and peace. What can we learn from this? That suffering is not something to be feared. It is something to be understood. When you stop fighting against it, you will see that it teaches you the most valuable lessons of life. Pain teaches you the value of kindness, because you know what it feels like to hurt. Loss teaches you to cherish the present moment, because nothing lasts forever. Hardship teaches you strength, because every challenge you overcome makes you wiser. Now, I ask you, what is the suffering that weighs on your heart today? Is it regret? Is it fear? Is it the longing for something you do not have? Instead of pushing it away, sit with it. Observe it. Ask yourself, what is this suffering teaching me? Most people believe that happiness comes from avoiding pain, but true happiness comes from facing it with courage. Imagine a storm rolling in. The wind howls, the rain pours, the thunder roars. If you fight against the storm, you will only exhaust yourself. But if you accept that the storm must pass, you can simply take shelter and wait. And when the clouds clear, you will see the world anew. This is the wisdom of understanding suffering. It does not mean you will never feel pain again. It means that pain will no longer control you. It means you will not run from it, but rather walk through it with awareness. So the next time you feel sorrow, do not see it as an enemy. See it as a teacher. Ask yourself, what is this moment showing me? And then, with patience and understanding, take your next step forward. The Buddha once said, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. This means that while pain is a natural part of life, suffering comes from how we react to it. If you resist, if you cling, if you try to control what cannot be controlled, suffering will grow. But if you accept, if you let go, if you learn from each moment, suffering will fade. And so, my dear friend, as you walk your path, remember this. Life is not about escaping suffering. It is about understanding it, learning from it, and finding peace within it. Close your eyes now. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight in your heart, but do not run from it. Instead, greet it with kindness, as you would an old friend. For in this very moment, you are already beginning to set yourself free. The art of letting go, freedom from attachments. Sit with me for a moment. Breathe in, breathe out. Now, imagine you are holding a rope, gripping it tightly, so tightly that your hands start to ache. The more you hold on, the more painful it becomes. But here's the thing, no one is forcing you to hold the rope. You could simply let go. and the pain would disappear. This is how attachments work. We hold on to things, people, memories, desires, fears, so tightly that they begin to hurt us. And yet, we refuse to let go. We tell ourselves that we must hold on, that letting go means losing, that without these things, we will be empty. But is that true? Or is it just a trick of the mind? Think about it. How many times in life have you suffered because of something you couldn't let go of? Maybe it was a past mistake, a lost relationship, a missed opportunity. Maybe it was anger towards someone who hurt you. Maybe it was a dream that didn't come true. We cling to these things, replaying them over and over, as if we could change the past. But the past is already gone. Holding on to it only creates suffering. The Buddha once said, "You only lose what you cling to." When we hear this, it may seem scary at first. We fear that letting go means losing everything we love. But in truth, letting go is not about losing. It is about freedom. It is about making space for peace. Imagine you are carrying a heavy bag everywhere you go. At first, you think you need everything inside it. But as time passes, your back starts to hurt, your steps become slower, and the journey feels exhausting. Then, one day someone asks you, "Why don't you put the bag down?" You hesitate. "But I need this," you say. "Do you?" they ask. And suddenly, you realize you don't. You place the bag down, and for the first time in years, you feel light. Free. Letting go does not mean giving up. It does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying the weight of things that no longer serve you. It means you trust that life will bring you what you need, and that clinging to the past only blocks your path forward. Look around you. Everything is always changing. The seasons shift. The tides rise and fall. Flowers bloom, then wither, then bloom again. Nothing stays the same forever. And yet, we try to hold on as if we could stop time. This is why we suffer. We resist the natural flow of life. But what if we did the opposite? What if, instead of resisting, we learned to trust, to let things come and go, to allow people to enter our lives and leave when it is time? What if we saw change not as loss, but as part of the dance of existence? Think of a river. The water is always moving, always flowing. It does not try to hold on to the rocks or the leaves that pass through it. It simply lets them come and go. And because of that, the river is free. Now, think of your own life. What are you holding on to that is causing you pain? What would happen if you loosened your grip, just a little? What if, instead of grasping, you opened your hands? One of the greatest illusions we have is the belief that we can control everything. But control is an illusion. No matter how hard we try, we cannot force life to go the way we want. We cannot stop people from leaving. We cannot change the past. We cannot predict the future. And yet, we spend so much energy trying. The moment you realize this, the moment you truly accept that life is beyond your control, is the moment you find peace. Because then, you stop fighting. You stop struggling. You simply allow life to unfold as it is meant to. Letting go does not mean you stop loving. In fact, it allows you to love more deeply. When you stop clinging, you stop suffocating the things you love. You allow them to breathe, to grow, to be what they are meant to be. Think of a bird. If you trap it in a cage, it may stay with you, but it will not be truly alive. It will not sing the same way. It will not soar the way it was meant to. But if you open your hands and let it fly, it may still return to you. And if it does, it will be because it wants to, not because it is forced to. In the same way, when you love someone, do not try to own them. Do not try to make them fit your expectations. Let them be who they are. Let them come and go as they need to. If they are meant to stay in your life, they will. If they are meant to leave, no amount of clinging will make them stay. The same applies to your thoughts, your emotions, your worries. They come and go like waves in the ocean. You do not need to hold on to them. Watch them, acknowledge them, and then let them pass. Letting go is not always easy. It takes practice, but with each step, you will feel lighter. With each moment of surrender, you will feel more free. So, I ask you again, what are you holding on to? What weight are you carrying that you no longer need? Take a deep breath. Exhale. And now let it go. Mindfulness and presence, the path to inner peace. Close your eyes for a moment and take a deep breath. Feel the air moving in and out of your lungs. Listen to the sounds around you. Maybe it's the distant hum of traffic, the rustling of leaves, or the soft rhythm of your own heartbeat. Right now, in this very moment, you are here, fully alive, fully present. But how often do we truly live in the present? Most of the time, our minds are elsewhere. We are either lost in memories of the past or worrying about the future. We replay old conversations, regret our mistakes, or wonder how life could have been different. And when we're not stuck in the past, we're busy planning, stressing, and chasing after something that always seems just out of reach. But in all this thinking, in all this rushing, we forget to live. Imagine walking through a beautiful garden, filled with the scent of fresh flowers and the sound of birds singing. But instead of noticing the beauty around you, your mind is busy worrying about tomorrow's problems. You walk through the garden without ever really seeing it. You were there, but you weren't truly there. This is how many of us live our lives, physically present, but mentally elsewhere. Buddhism teaches us that the key to peace and happiness lies in the present moment. Not in the regrets of the past, not in the worries of the future, but in the now. This is what mindfulness is all about. It is the art of being fully aware of where you are and what you are doing, without being distracted by thoughts of elsewhere. Have you ever noticed how children experience the world? When they play, they are completely absorbed in the moment. They don't think about yesterday's problems or tomorrow's worries. They simply exist in the present, fully engaged with life. But as we grow older, we lose this ability. We get caught up in responsibilities, deadlines, and endless thoughts. We forget how to simply be. Mindfulness is not about escaping reality. It is about seeing reality clearly. It is about noticing the little things, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the taste of your food, the feeling of the ground beneath your feet. It is about fully experiencing each moment as it happens. When you drink a cup of tea, don't just gulp it down while thinking about something else. Feel the warmth of the cup in your hands. Notice the aroma. Savor each sip. Be present. But mindfulness is not just about enjoying pleasant moments. It is also about facing difficult moments with awareness. When we experience pain, we often try to push it away, to escape from it. But in doing so, we create even more suffering. Imagine holding a burning piece of coal in your hand. The more you resist it, the more it burns. But if you simply acknowledge it and let it go, the pain lessens. This is the power of mindfulness. It allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions without being controlled by them. Many people believe that peace comes from changing their external circumstances. They think, I will be happy when I get a better job, when I have more money, when I find the perfect relationship. But true peace does not come from the outside. It comes from within. You can have everything you ever wanted, but if your mind is restless, you will still feel empty. And you can have very little, but if your mind is at peace, you will feel rich beyond measure. Imagine sitting by a still lake. When the water is calm, you can see your reflection clearly. But when the water is disturbed, the reflection becomes distorted. This is what happens to our minds. When we are constantly caught in thoughts, worries, and distractions, we cannot see clearly. But when we practice mindfulness, we bring stillness to our minds. And in that stillness, we find clarity. One of the most powerful ways to practice mindfulness is through meditation. Meditation is not about emptying your mind or forcing yourself to be calm. It is simply about sitting with yourself, observing your thoughts without judgment, and returning to the present moment. Even if your mind wanders 100 times, that's okay. The practice is in bringing it back. But mindfulness is not just something you practice while meditating. It is something you can bring into every part of your life. You can be mindful while eating, while walking, while washing the dishes. Every moment is an opportunity to be present. When you are talking to someone, truly listen. Don't just wait for your turn to speak. Be there. When you are working, focus on the task at hand, instead of thinking about 100 other things. Life is happening right now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but now. And if we are always waiting for the next moment, we will miss this one. We will miss the laughter of a friend, the beauty of the sunrise, the simple joy of being alive. But if we can train ourselves to be present, to truly experience life as it is, we will find a deep sense of peace that no external success can ever give. The greatest gift you can give yourself is your own presence, not just for a few moments, but as a way of life. Because when you are present, you are fully alive. You are no longer just existing, you are truly living. Karma and intentions, shaping your future. Sit with me for a moment. Take a deep breath. Feel the air entering your lungs, filling your body with life. Now let it go. Just like that breath. Every action you take in life carries energy. Every thought, every word, every decision It all flows into the world like ripples on a still pond. And those ripples come back to you. This is the essence of karma. Many people misunderstand karma. They think it is some magical force, punishing the bad and rewarding the good. But karma is not about punishment or reward. It is about cause and effect. If you plant a seed, it will grow. If you plant kindness, you will receive kindness. If you plant anger, anger will return to you. It is that simple. Think about a time when someone was rude to you. Maybe they spoke harshly. Maybe they ignored you. Maybe they hurt you in some way. How did you feel? That pain, that frustration, it did not come from nowhere. It was the result of their actions, their energy. Now, think about a time when someone showed you kindness. Maybe they smiled at you. Maybe they helped you. Maybe they said something that lifted your spirits. That warmth, that happiness, it was the result of their actions. Everything we do creates waves in the universe. Sometimes, those waves return quickly. Other times, they take years. But they always return. If you push negativity into the world, it will find its way back to you. If you spread love, love will find its way back. But here is something most people do not realize. Karma is not just about what you do. It is also about why you do it. Imagine two people giving money to someone in need. One does it because they truly want to help. The other does it because they want praise, because they want to look good. The action is the same, but the intention behind it is different. And in the end, those intentions shape what comes back to them. Your intentions are like the roots of a tree. If the roots are strong and pure, the tree will grow tall and healthy. But if the roots are weak, if they are poisoned by selfishness or greed, the tree will struggle. That is why Buddhism teaches us to be mindful of not just our actions, but also our thoughts and motivations. Think about your own life. How often do you act out of habit without thinking about why? How often do you say words without considering the impact they have? How often do you chase things without asking yourself if they truly matter? Many people live their whole lives reacting, without ever stopping to understand what they are creating. But once you start paying attention, once you become aware of the energy you send into the world, everything changes. You begin to move with intention. You begin to see the patterns of cause and effect in your own life. You realize that every word, every action, every choice is shaping your future. There is a story about a farmer who had a bad habit of speaking harshly. Whenever he was frustrated, he would lash out, saying cruel things to his family and friends. One day, his teacher gave him a bag of nails and told him, "Every time you say something unkind, hammer a nail into this wooden fence." At first, the farmer did not think much of it. But as the days passed, the fence became covered in nails. He saw the damage he was doing, not just to the wood, but to the people around him. He made an effort to change, and with time, he learned to control his words. His teacher then told him, "Now, for every kind word you speak, remove a nail." The farmer worked hard, choosing his words carefully, speaking with kindness and understanding. Slowly, he pulled the nails out, one by one. But when the fence was finally empty, he realized something. The holes remained. The wood was scarred. His harsh words had left wounds that kindness alone could not erase. This is the power of karma. What we do, what we say, what we think, it all leaves an imprint. Some wounds heal, some marks fade, but the energy we put into the world never truly disappears. That is why we must be careful, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. So how do we create good karma? How do we ensure that the energy we send out is pure and positive? The answer is simple: be mindful. Before you speak, ask yourself, will these words bring peace or pain? Before you act, ask yourself, is this action coming from love or selfishness? Before you make a decision, ask yourself, am I choosing out of fear or out of wisdom? Living with awareness is the key to shaping your future. Every moment is a chance to plant good seeds, to create ripples of kindness, to build a life filled with peace. And it starts with the smallest things: a smile, a kind word, a helping hand. But remember, karma is not about being perfect. We all make mistakes. We all say things we regret. We all take actions that we later wish we had not. But the beauty of karma is that it is always moving, always changing. You are never trapped by your past. No matter what you have done, no matter what mistakes you have made, you can always choose to start again. Imagine you are standing at a river. The water flows endlessly, carrying away leaves, sticks, and stones. You cannot change the water that has already passed, but you can decide what you throw in next. That is your power. That is your freedom. So, as you go forward, remember this. Karma is not about fate. It is not about luck. It is about the energy you choose to create, in this moment, and the next, and the next. Choose wisely. Choose with love. And watch how your life transforms. Compassion and loving kindness, the heart of Buddhism. Sit with me for a moment. Breathe. Feel the air into your lungs and leave gently. Now, think of the last time someone was kind to you. Maybe they smiled at you on a difficult day. Maybe they listened when you needed to speak. Maybe they forgave you when you made a mistake. That warmth, that understanding, it feels like a light, doesn't it? A small flame in the darkness. This is the power of compassion. But tell me, when was the last time you were kind to someone? Not just polite, but truly kind? When did you last look at someone, not just with your eyes, but with your heart? When did you last help someone without expecting anything in return? Compassion is not just a feeling. It is an action, a way of living, a way of seeing. And in Buddhism, it is one of the highest forms of wisdom. The Buddha taught that true happiness comes not from taking, but from giving. Not from winning, but from understanding. Not from being right, but from being kind. But how do we cultivate compassion in a world that often feels cold? How do we practice loving kindness when people can be unkind? When the world is filled with suffering, how can we open our hearts without breaking? First, we must understand something very important. Every person you meet is carrying something heavy. Every smile hides a story. Every silence has a reason. And every harsh word is often a cry for help. When you see anger, know that beneath it, there is pain. When you see selfishness, know that beneath it, there is fear. People are not as they seem on the surface. And when we understand this, kindness becomes easier. Compassion does not mean agreeing with everything. It does not mean letting people hurt us. It means seeing clearly, seeing beyond the surface, beyond the actions, into the heart of another being. It means recognizing that just like us, they too want to be happy. Just like us, they too struggle. Just like us, they too are learning. Let me tell you a story. Once, a monk was walking through a village when a man began shouting at him, insulting him for no reason. The monk simply stood there, listening. When the man had finished, the monk smiled and asked, "If someone gives you a gift, but you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man, confused, replied, "It stays with the giver." The monk nodded. "Then, I do not accept your anger. You may keep it if you wish." This is compassion, not reacting with hatred, but with understanding. Not holding on to negativity, but letting it go. But compassion is not only for others. It must also begin with ourselves. How often do we judge ourselves? How often do we speak to ourselves with cruelty, calling ourselves failures, fools, not good enough? If a friend made a mistake, you would comfort them. But when you make a mistake, do you comfort yourself? Or do you punish yourself? To truly practice compassion, you must learn to be gentle with yourself. Forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know before. Forgive yourself for the times you were not your best. Learn from it, grow, and move forward. Compassion is not weakness. It is strength. It takes great courage to choose kindness when the world chooses anger. It takes great wisdom to respond with love when faced with hate. And it takes great patience to understand those who do not understand us. But when we practice compassion, something changes. The world softens. We begin to see beauty where we once saw nothing. We begin to feel peace where we once felt chaos. We begin to love life, not because it is perfect, but because we have learned to love despite its imperfections. So I ask you, the next time you feel anger, stop. Breathe. Look deeper. Ask yourself, what pain lies beneath this? What fear is hiding here? And instead of reacting, choose to understand. And the next time you see someone struggling, do not turn away. Even a small kindness, a smile, a kind word, a moment of patience can change everything. It may seem small to you, but to someone else, it might be the light they needed. A single candle can light 1,000 others without losing its own light. In the same way, your kindness does not take away from you. It only spreads, like ripples in water, touching lives in ways you may never see. This is the heart of Buddhism. This is the power of compassion. The middle way, balance in life. Sit down for a moment. Take a deep breath. Feel the air entering your lungs, filling you with life. Now let it go. This is balance. This is harmony. This is the rhythm of existence. Inhale, exhale. Not too much, not too little. Just enough. Life is like walking on a tightrope. Lean too far in one direction, and you fall. Pull too hard in another, and you lose your way. We live in extremes, chasing pleasure, avoiding pain, running toward success, fearing failure. We think happiness is found in having everything, but when we get it, something still feels missing. And when we lose, we feel as if the world is ending. Why is that? Because we don't understand balance. Buddha once told a story of a musician. A student came to him, frustrated with meditation. "I try so hard," he said. "I push myself, but I can't find peace." The Buddha smiled and asked, "When you play the lute, what happens if the strings are too loose?" "They don't make any sound," the student replied. "And if they are too tight?" "They snap," the student said. Buddha nodded. "So it is with the mind. Too loose, and it becomes lazy. Too tight, and it breaks under pressure. The secret is in the middle, neither too tight nor too loose. This is the middle way, a life not of excess, nor of deprivation, a life of balance. Think about how we live. We work too much, then burn out. We chase comfort, then feel empty. We set impossible goals, then feel like failures when we don't reach them. We live in a cycle of extremes, overindulgence and regret, obsession and exhaustion, desire and disappointment. But what if we stepped away from the edges and walked the middle path? Balance doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean never trying, never feeling, never striving. It means knowing when to push forward and when to rest. It means knowing when to hold on and when to let go. It means understanding that life is not black and white, but a river that flows between them. A tree stands tall because it is rooted firmly, but it also sways with the wind. If it were too rigid, it would snap. If it were too weak, it would fall. Strength is not found in hardness, but in flexibility. Now think about your own life. Have you ever worked so hard that you forgot to enjoy yourself? Have you ever chased something so obsessively that, when you got it, it didn't feel as good as you expected? Have you ever pushed yourself to the point of exhaustion, only to wonder why you're still unhappy? This is why the middle way matters. It reminds us that extreme ambition without rest leads to burnout. That endless pleasure-seeking without purpose leads to emptiness. That avoiding all challenges leads to stagnation. And that clinging too tightly to control leads to suffering. Imagine a river. If it flows too fast, it becomes violent, eroding everything in its path. If it moves too slowly, it becomes stagnant, lifeless. But when it flows naturally, it nourishes everything around it. Your life is that river. Let it move, but do not force it. Let it settle, but do not let it stop. Many people believe happiness is found in reaching an extreme. Some say, "If I have more money, I'll be happy." Others say, "If I abandon everything and live with nothing, I'll be free." But happiness is not found in having everything or having nothing. It is found in knowing when enough is enough. A person who eats too much feels sick. A person who starves feels weak. But the one who eats just enough feels nourished. This is the middle way. The middle way teaches us how to approach everything, our goals, our relationships, our emotions. It tells us not to let anger control us, but also not to suppress it. To enjoy pleasure, but not be addicted to it. To work hard, but not destroy ourselves in the process. It is the art of knowing when to act and when to be still, when to hold on and when to surrender, when to speak and when to listen. Now, look at your own life. Where are you pulling too hard? Where are you holding too tightly? What would happen if you loosened your grip just a little? Buddhism does not tell us to abandon our dreams. It does not tell us to stop feeling joy or to ignore pain. It simply tells us to live with awareness, to walk the path with steady steps, to find beauty in balance. Because balance is not the absence of struggle. It is the ability to move through life without being controlled by it. The middle way is not just a philosophy, it is a way of living. And when you walk this path, life itself becomes lighter, easier, and more peaceful. Impermanence, embracing change. Sit with me for a moment. Breathe in and breathe out. Feel the air as it enters your lungs and leaves just as easily. Notice how no breath can be held forever. No matter how much you try to keep it, you must let it go. Life itself is like this, always changing, always moving. Yet, we resist change. We fear it, fight it, and suffer because of it. But what if we didn't have to? Imagine you are holding a handful of sand. At first, it sits gently in your palm. But the moment you close your fist, trying to hold on tightly, it starts slipping through your fingers. The tighter you grip, the faster it escapes. This is how life works. Everything you love, everything you fear, everything you think will last forever is like that sand. You cannot hold on to it. You can only experience it while it's there, then let it go. Impermanence is the truth of existence. The seasons change, the flowers bloom and wither, the rivers flow endlessly without stopping. Nothing stays the same, not our joys, not our sorrows, not even ourselves. The person you were 10 years ago is not the person you are today. Your thoughts, your dreams, your struggles, they have all shifted, just like the clouds in the sky. And yet, we act as if things will last forever. We believe that love will never fade, that youth will never leave us, that the people in our lives will always be there. But life does not work that way. Everything is in motion, constantly evolving. To deny this truth is to create suffering for ourselves. Think of the last time you lost something, perhaps a friendship, an opportunity, or even a beloved possession. The pain you felt did not come from the loss itself, but from your expectation that it should have lasted. You held on to the idea that it would always be there. When it wasn't, you suffered. Now, imagine if you had accepted from the beginning that nothing is permanent. Imagine if you had cherished every moment, knowing it would one day pass. Wouldn't that make each experience even more precious? Wouldn't that free you from the pain of attachment? A river never stops flowing. It does not mourn the water that has passed, nor does it try to hold on to what is ahead. It simply moves, embracing every twist and turn. When we learn to live like the river, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Many people believe that impermanence is a sad truth. They think it means that everything they love will disappear, that nothing has meaning. But this is not so. In fact, impermanence is what makes life beautiful. Think of the cherry blossoms in spring. They bloom in breathtaking beauty, yet they do not last forever. If they were permanent, would we still admire them as much? Or is it their fleeting nature that makes them so special? When we understand impermanence, we start to see life differently. We stop clinging to the past. We stop fearing the future. We learn to appreciate each moment for what it is, temporary, but full of meaning. Some people try to resist change by controlling everything around them. They plan, they predict, they build walls around their hearts, hoping to keep things the same. But life does not listen to our plans. It moves in its own way, on its own time. No matter how much we try, we cannot stop the flow of change. Instead of resisting, what if we embraced it? What if, instead of fearing loss, we welcomed new beginnings? What if, instead of mourning what is gone, we celebrated what it gave us? Think of the setting sun. It disappears beyond the horizon. But does that mean it is lost forever? No, it will rise again in the morning, bringing new light, new warmth, new possibilities. Every ending is also a beginning. Every loss makes space for something new. But embracing impermanence does not mean we stop caring. It does not mean we become indifferent or emotionless. It means we love more deeply, live more fully, and appreciate every experience while it lasts. When you hold a loved one's hand, know that it will not always be there. So hold it tightly. When you hear laughter, enjoy it fully, because it will fade. When you are happy, do not waste time wondering if it will last. Simply be happy. And when sadness comes, do not fear it. It, too, will pass. A leaf falls from a tree, but in time, it nourishes the soil and gives birth to new life. A wave crashes on the shore, but it does not stay still. It returns to the ocean, only to rise again. Everything is in motion. Everything is part of the great dance of existence. So, do not cling to what is temporary. Do not fear what is changing. Instead, open your heart to life as it is, a flowing river, a shifting sky, a fleeting breath. When you truly embrace impermanence, you will find something unexpected. You will find peace. Because peace is not found in holding on. Peace is found in letting go. Self-discovery through meditation. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in and slowly let it out. Feel the air as it moves through you. Notice the stillness that follows. This is the doorway to something profound, something beyond words, beyond thoughts. This is the path of self-discovery through meditation. Many people think meditation is about sitting still and doing nothing, but that is not true. Meditation is the greatest journey you will ever take. a journey into yourself. It is not about escaping life, it is about waking up to it. When you meditate, you are not running away from your problems. You are learning how to face them with clarity and peace. Imagine standing in front of a still pond. If you throw a stone into it, ripples will spread across the surface. This is how our minds usually are, full of movement, full of thoughts, worries, and distractions. But if you wait, if you do not stir the water, what happens? The ripples fade. The surface becomes clear. And in that stillness, you can finally see your reflection. This is what meditation does to the mind. It allows the noise to settle. It brings clarity where there was confusion. It helps you see yourself as you truly are, not as others see you, not as the world has told you to be, but as you, in your purest form. Most of the time, we live on the surface of our minds, caught in an endless stream of thoughts. We are planning the future, remembering the past, worrying about things that may never happen. But what if, just for a moment, you could step back? What if you could watch your thoughts instead of being controlled by them? Close your eyes again. Listen, not to the sounds around you, but to the silence beneath them. That silence has always been there. It is the space where wisdom arises. It is the space where you meet yourself. Meditation is not about stopping thoughts. You cannot stop the wind from blowing, just as you cannot stop your mind from thinking. But you can learn to sit in the breeze without being carried away. You can watch your thoughts come and go without clinging to them. Think about a river. If you jump in, the current will pull you. But if you sit on the bank and watch, you can see the river for what it is. Meditation teaches you to sit on the bank of your own mind. It teaches you that thoughts are just passing clouds in the sky of your awareness. They come and go, but you remain. The greatest discoveries in life are not found outside. They are found within. You may search for happiness and success, in relationships, in material things. But all of these are temporary. They change, they fade. True happiness comes when you stop searching outside and turn inward. Have you ever noticed how the mind runs away from silence? The moment you sit quietly, it starts creating distractions. It reminds you of things to do. It fills you with random thoughts. This is because the mind is afraid of stillness. But why? Because in stillness, truth appears. And truth can be uncomfortable. It shows us who we really are. It shows us our fears, our desires, our attachments. But it also shows us something else, something more beautiful than we ever imagined. It shows us that beneath all the noise, we are already whole. We are already enough. Meditation is not about becoming someone new. It is about realizing who you have always been. It is about peeling away the layers of fear, doubt, and illusion that have covered your true self. It is about remembering. And yet, so many people say, I can't meditate. My mind is too busy. But this is like saying, I can't take a bath because I'm too dirty. The busier your mind, the more you need meditation. Even a few minutes a day can change your life. Do not think that meditation is only for monks or people who live in caves. It is for everyone. It is for you. It does not matter where you are or what you do. You can meditate while sitting in a chair, while walking, even while drinking tea. Meditation is not about posture. It is about presence. Imagine waking up each day with a clear mind, unburdened by stress. Imagine facing challenges with calmness instead of fear. Imagine feeling truly alive in each moment, not lost in regrets of the past or worries about the future. This is what meditation can give you. There is a Zen saying, you should sit in meditation for 20 minutes every day, unless you are too busy. Then you should sit for an hour. Why? Because when life feels too busy for meditation, that is when you need it the most. Right now, your mind may be full of questions. Will this really work for me? How do I start? The answer is simple. Start with one breath. Just one. Close your eyes. Breathe in. Feel it. Breathe out. Notice it. In this moment, you are meditating. In this moment, you are awake. You don't need special skills. You don't need years of training. You only need to be here, now. The mind will try to pull you away. That is its nature. But each time you bring your attention back to your breath, back to the present, you are strengthening your awareness. And with awareness comes freedom. Freedom from overthinking. Freedom from unnecessary suffering. Freedom from the false belief that you are not enough. Meditation is not something you do once and forget. It is a practice, a lifelong journey. Some days will be easy. Some days will be hard. But every time you sit, every time you return to yourself, You are taking a step toward a deeper understanding of who you are. So start small, just a few minutes. Breathe, observe, let go. Day by day, moment by moment, you will begin to notice something changing. Not outside, but within. And once you truly see yourself, once you touch that stillness inside, you will never be the same again. Because when you discover yourself, you discover everything. The power of right speech and right action. Sit with me for a moment. Close your eyes. Breathe in and out. Now, think about the last time words hurt you. Maybe someone insulted you, criticized you unfairly, or spoke to you in anger. How did it feel? Even though words are invisible, they carry weight. They can break a heart, end a friendship, or destroy trust in an instant. Now, think about the opposite. Has someone ever said something that made you feel truly seen, valued, or loved? A simple "I believe in you" or "I'm proud of you" can change the course of a person's life. Words have power, more than we often realize. And in Buddhism, this power is known as right speech. Right speech isn't just about avoiding lies or speaking kindly. It's about understanding that every word we say plants a seed, seeds of love, anger, wisdom, or ignorance. What we say shapes the world around us. Just like a sharp knife can be used to cut fruit or to harm someone, our words can be tools for peace or weapons of destruction. But words are only half the story. What about our actions? The way we move through life, the choices we make every day. These things create ripples, touching lives in ways we may never see. Right action is about moving through the world with mindfulness, making sure our footsteps don't leave behind harm, but rather kindness and understanding. Have you ever watched a single drop of water fall into a still pond? The ripples spread out, touching the surface far beyond where the drop first landed. This is how our actions work. A small act of kindness, a moment of patience, a gentle hand instead of a harsh push. These things spread in ways we can't predict. Imagine a world where every person chose their words and actions with care, where arguments turned into understanding, where conflict turned into compassion, where harm turned into healing. It sounds like a dream, but it begins with one person. It begins with you. Right speech and right action aren't just moral rules. They are a path to peace. When we choose our words wisely, we free ourselves from regret. How often do we wish we hadn't said something in anger? How often do we replay conversations in our minds, wishing we had been more patient, more kind, more understanding? But if we practice right speech, we no longer have to carry those regrets. We know that our words are like gentle rain, not a raging storm. And when we practice right action, we move through life with a sense of integrity. Our conscience becomes light, and our heart feels at ease. We no longer have to justify unkind choices or live with guilt. We become the kind of person who brings peace wherever we go. There is a story of a young man who went to see a wise monk. He was troubled, full of anger, and quick to speak harshly. "I can't control my temper," he said. "I say things I don't mean. I hurt people. What can I do?" The monk handed him a bag of nails and told him, "Every time you speak in anger, hammer a nail into that wooden fence." The young man did as he was told. At first, the nails went in quickly. There were so many moments of frustration, so many angry words spoken. But over time, as he became more aware, the number of nails decreased. He learned to pause before speaking, to breathe before reacting. Eventually, a day came when he didn't need to hammer in a single nail. He returned to the monk, proud of his progress. The monk then handed him a pair of pliers and said, "Now, pull out each nail, one by one." The young man did so, but when he was finished, the monk pointed to the fence. "Look at the holes left behind," he said. "The wood will never be the same." Words are like nails. Even if we apologize, even if we regret, some wounds never fully heal. This is why we must choose our words carefully. Not to be perfect, not to never make mistakes, but to lessen the harm we cause, to make sure our speech brings more light than darkness into the world. And what about action? Imagine carrying a bowl full of water. If you move carelessly, the water spills everywhere, making a mess. But if you walk with mindfulness, with care, the water stays steady. Our actions are like that. If we move through life without awareness, we create unnecessary suffering. But when we act with wisdom, we walk gently, leaving the world better than we found it. Right speech and right action are not easy. They require practice. They require patience. But they also bring immense peace. Imagine waking up every morning knowing that yesterday you spoke with kindness and acted with wisdom. No regrets, no guilt, just a heart at ease. This is the beauty of the path. It does not require perfection. It only requires awareness. One word at a time, one step at a time, we create a life filled with meaning, compassion, and true peace. So, I leave you with this question. What ripples will you create today? Will your words bring peace or pain? Will your actions create harmony or harm? The choice is yours, and it begins in this moment. Overcoming fear and finding true happiness. Sit down for a moment. Take a deep breath. Let the air fill your lungs, and then slowly let it go. Feel the weight of your body resting where you are. Now, think about this. What is it that you fear the most? Is it failure? Rejection? Losing someone you love? Or maybe it's the unknown, the uncertainty of tomorrow? Fear is like a shadow. It follows us everywhere. Even when everything is fine, fear whispers in our ears. What if something goes wrong? It keeps us trapped, unable to move forward, unable to truly live. But have you ever stopped to ask, what is fear really? Fear is a thought. It is something the mind creates, a story it tells us about the future. But here's the truth. Most of the things we fear never actually happen. Think about it. How many times have you worried about something that never became real? The sleepless nights, the stress, the overthinking, all for something that never came to be. And yet, fear controls us. It makes us hesitate when we should take action. It stops us from speaking our truth, from following our dreams, from living freely. But here is the great secret. Fear is not the problem. The problem is that we believe in it too much. Imagine a small child waking up in the middle of the night. The room is dark. The child sees a shadow on the wall and thinks it is a monster. The heart races, the body freezes in fear. But then, a parent turns on the light, and the child sees the truth. It was just a coat hanging on a chair. The monster was never there. It was only the mind creating a story. This is exactly what happens with fear. It is just a shadow. But in the darkness of our thoughts, it feels real. The only way to overcome it is to turn on the light of awareness. When we see fear for what it truly is, it loses its power over us. Buddhism teaches us that fear comes from attachment. We fear losing what we love. We fear not getting what we want. We fear change because we cling to what is familiar. But life is always changing. Nothing stays the same forever. The more we resist this truth, the more fear controls us. So, how do we let go of fear? The first step is acceptance. Instead of fighting fear, we must face it. We must look at it directly and say, I see you. Fear is like a wave in the ocean. It rises, it peaks, and then it fades away. No wave stays forever. And just like that, no fear stays forever either. Have you ever stood at the edge of a deep pool, afraid to jump in? Your mind tells you it will be too cold, too deep, too scary. But the moment you jump, something amazing happens. The fear disappears. It was only there before you jumped. The moment you take action, fear has no choice but to dissolve. The same is true in life. Fear keeps us stuck, but the moment we move, the moment we take a step forward, the fear begins to fade. Action is the antidote to fear. Now let's talk about happiness. Everyone wants to be happy, but most people spend their lives searching for it in the wrong places. We think happiness will come when we have more money, more success, more love. But have you ever noticed that the more we chase happiness, the more it seems to run away from us? Buddhism teaches that true happiness is not something we find outside. It is something we discover within. Happiness is not in things, not in achievements, not in other people. It is in our way of seeing, our way of being. A man once came to the Buddha and asked, I want happiness. How can I find it? The Buddha smiled and said, first, remove I, that is ego. Then, remove want, that is desire. What remains is happiness. Happiness is not something to be chased. It is something to be uncovered, something that is already within us when we let go of fear, let go of attachment, let go of the idea that we need something outside of ourselves to be whole. Imagine a clear blue sky. That is our natural state, peaceful, open, free. But over time, clouds appear. The clouds are our fears, our worries, our desires. We think the sky is gone, but it is always there, waiting behind the clouds. The moment we stop clinging to the clouds, we see the sky again. This is the secret to happiness. It is not in doing more, having more, becoming more. It is in letting go. It is in realizing that we are already complete, already enough. Think about this. When are you the happiest? Is it when you get something new? Or is it in the simple moments? Laughing with a friend, feeling the warmth of the sun on your face, listening to the sound of rain? True happiness is always simple. It is found in presence, in gratitude, in being fully alive in this moment. Fear takes us out of the present. It makes us live in the future, in the what-ifs. But happiness is only found here and now. This is why mindfulness is so important. When we are mindful, we see that there is nothing to fear in this moment. Right now, you are safe. Right now, you are alive. Right now, you have everything you need. So what can we do? How do we live without fear and find true happiness? First, we must recognize that fear is just a thought, not reality. The moment we see this, fear loses its power. Second, we must stop resisting change. Life is always moving, always flowing. When we accept this, fear has nowhere to hold on to us. Third, we must practice gratitude. Instead of focusing on what we lack, we must learn to appreciate what we have. Gratitude is the key that unlocks happiness. Finally, we must live fully in the present. Happiness is not in the past. It is not in the future. It is here, in this breath, in this moment. Take another deep breath. Feel it fill your body. Let it go. Right now, in this very moment, there is nothing to fear. Right now, in this very moment, happiness is already here. All you have to do is see it. Final reflections, living with wisdom. Sit with me for a moment. Take a deep breath. Feel the air as it enters your body, filling your lungs. Now let it go. This simple breath, coming and going, is a reminder of life itself. Everything that begins will end. Everything we hold will one day slip through our fingers. But in this moment, right now, you are here. You are alive. And that is enough. We have traveled a long path together. Step by step, thought by thought, we have explored the wisdom of Buddhism, not as distant teachings, but as living truths. These truths are not just words. They are doorways. They open your mind. They change your heart. And if you allow them, they will shape your life. So, as we reach the final chapter of our journey, I ask you, what have you discovered? Not about Buddhism, not about history, but about yourself? Have you noticed the way your mind clings to worries? Have you seen the way fear rises and falls like a wave? Have you felt, even for a moment, the peace that comes when you simply let go? Life is not something you conquer. It is not something you control. Life is something you experience. The good, the bad, the in-between, all of it. Some days, the sun will shine, and your heart will feel light. Other days, the storm clouds will gather, and you will struggle to take another step. But through it all, one thing remains true. You are never truly lost. The wisdom we have explored together is not a list of rules. It is not a path you must follow step by step. It is an invitation. It asks you to look deeper, to question your own beliefs, to see beyond the surface of things. Many people search for happiness as if it is something to be found, like a hidden treasure, waiting to be uncovered. But happiness is not a thing. It is not waiting for you in the future. It is not something you can hold. Happiness is a way of being. It is the peace that comes when you stop running, stop grasping, and simply allow yourself to be. Do you remember the first time you saw the ocean? The endless waves stretching beyond the horizon? That vastness, that openness, it is the same vastness that exists within you. But we forget. We shrink ourselves into worries, fears, and endless desires. We close ourselves in, thinking that if we just achieve more, if we just fix everything, then we will finally be free. But freedom does not come from fixing. It comes from accepting. Let me ask you something. If I hand you a cup filled to the brim with water, can you pour anything more into it? No. The cup is already full. This is how most of us live. Our minds overflowing with noise, with distractions, with the weight of the past, and the anxiety of the future. But if you empty the cup, if you let go, you create space. And in that space, something new can enter. Peace, clarity, joy. The greatest gift of Buddhist wisdom is not an escape from life. It is a way to fully embrace it, to see things as they are, to understand that every moment, no matter how simple, is complete. Right now, as you listen, as you breathe, this moment is enough. You do not need to be anywhere else. You do not need to be anyone else. So what now? You have listened, you have learned, but wisdom is not something to collect. It is something to live. Will you take these teachings with you? Will you apply them, not just when life is easy, but when life is hard? When anger rises, will you pause before reacting? When fear grips your heart, will you remember that it, too, will pass? Buddhism does not promise a life without suffering. No path can offer that, but it does offer a way to meet suffering with courage, to meet change with grace, to meet life with an open heart. As we end this journey together, I have one final request. If this message has touched you, if even one thought has opened your mind in a new way, take a moment to give back. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of people subscribe. If you want more of this wisdom, if you want to continue this journey, like, comment, share, and subscribe. It may seem small, but it helps us reach others who, just like you, are searching for something deeper. And please, share your thoughts in the comments. What spoke to you? What will you carry forward? There is nothing more to say. The words must now become actions. The journey is yours. Walk it with awareness. Walk it with kindness. And most of all, walk it with the knowledge that you are already whole.